And he spoke great words against our power. Lesson going up right now. Just make sure this thing's recording. Etc. Oh, I'll be damned. It fucking works.
All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shah, Bahasham, and Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shah, pushing to get up out there. Shalom to the hopeful lake of believers and listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shah. Okay, and what I want to get into today, all right, this morning, news and prophecy, and I'm quite sure, you brothers, all right, some of you sisters have seen, dealing with Davos, and the talk, that whole, weekend in Davos, okay, because the whole thing with these different leaders, Trump and EU leaders and all these different nations leaders talking, that was just, irrelevant, okay, but we got a glimpse at the mind and the agenda of these devils, which line up with prophecy, okay, as this devil was boasting in his AI. Okay, when Esau boasting his AI, he's boasting against Yahweh Bashem Al Shah. Okay, so what we're seeing, all right, in these last days, that these devils, they're beginning to peak out, with their pride. Okay, so we're seeing these devils coming to, okay, their peak when it comes to pride, right before, Yahweh Bashem Al Shah brings this man down and everything that this man has built up. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to go into some prophecy, because the scriptures let us know about this beast system, that will be in power. It goes into the rise and fall, okay, of this beast system that we see running the earth today, okay, and it will be ran by Esau, Edom, these Edomites, man, okay. So let's go here, all right, because we went into it before, because I want to go into Revelation 13 and then link it with Daniel 7, okay, a few things in Daniel 7, and then I got a video, I want to go into. Pretty good. It's short, but it has a lot in it, But what we're seeing with these devils, they're beginning to boast against Yahweh Bashem Al Shah openly. They've done these things, subtly, because rebellion against our power is built into this society. There's a built-in rebellion. By default, if you're not in the truth, okay, you're in rebellion to Yahweh Bashem Al Shah. Okay, and it's getting to the point where the sea hill, all right, it's going to be made mandatory, which is the mark of this beast system, okay, the stamp, all right, which is going to be a physical device. It's going to be technology, micro-technology, okay, that's going to link you, okay, to this AI digital system, okay, which is going to put you in complete open rebellion against Yahweh Bashem Al Shah, and that's why the judgment is so severe, okay, in Revelation, the 14th chapter, okay. Now, let's start off with verse 1. It says, Revelation 13:1, it says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads, all right, the names of blasphemy. Okay, so let's get this word blasphemy, because this beast, this is Esau's, all right, power structure that have ruled the earth. You go into the heads, all right, which these were the dominant governments, okay, that this devil, has ruled the earth from, the Greeks, all right, the Romans, all right, the French, the Spanish, okay, Germania Major, Germania Minor, and the British, okay, those 7 heads represent these 7 governments, okay, that this devil has ruled, okay, and then within the Roman Empire, you have with the 10 horns, which represent those vassal states of the pagan Roman Empire, okay, and now today, in this new Rome, because we're going to go into it, because one head was wounded and it was healed, okay, and it came back as America, NATO, and the EU, and the EU are these 10 horns of today, okay. So let's get into this word blasphemy, all right, because this will be an indicator, this is what this beast system will be known for, was to be blasphemous against Yahweh Bashem Al Shah, okay. So you go into this word blasphemy, we'll get it in the etymol line as well, baratazar, but you go into the word blasphemy in the Greek.
Strong's G 988, blasphemia. Blasphemia.
All right, blasphemia. Okay, and it goes into a slander, a detraction, okay, a speech injurious, which means, speech that means to harm, all right, to another's good name, okay, and the name and authority of Yahweh Shemal Shah is constantly slandered within this beast system, okay, and it's becoming, the devil is doing it more openly now, all right, he's trying to distract, all right, glory and power and authority from Yahweh Shemal Shah. That's what this new world order system is all about. This is what we've been saying through the spirit, okay, of Yahweh Shemal Shah. Brothers been saying this, man. And this man wants to replace the Most High with technology, man. Okay, and that's blasphemy. Okay, it says impious or reproachful speech, injurious to divine majesty, man. Okay, so this devil's system, okay, is blasphemy against Yahweh Shemal Shah. It's slanderous towards the Most High, towards his authority. Okay, and his devil, he's trying to double down on it, okay, with technology. You see? So real quick, let's go to this word blasphemy in the Edom. Then we'll go back to Revelation 13. So this is the book. This is the word blasphemy, like the Edom online. Okay, it's pretty much similar to the one in the blue letter. Okay, but when you go into blasphemy on the Edom online, it said to speak impiously or irreverently, okay, irreverently of the Most High and sacred things. And see, this devil is saying that his technology is going to make the Most High irrelevant. He has the technology to put in place to make the Most High irrelevant, man. And that's straight blasphemy, man. Okay, it says also meant, it says to revile, to reproach, to blame. Okay, to blame, because one thing the devil does, which is blasphemy, he makes the Most High the villain. Okay, and he's the one that's coming, okay, to save humanity from the villain, the Most High. Okay, the same way he tries to, he pushes his propaganda against, terrorists and all these different, the thugs, street niggas, and which he creates these problems.
Yep.
You see.
The terrorist that controls themselves.
Most High, man, this is how proud and out of his goddamn mind Esau is, man. Okay, he pushes propaganda to the Most High. He blames the Most High for problems of the earth that that the Lord gave him authority over, man. Okay, it says to speak lightly or amiss of sacred things, to slander, all right, from blasphemous evil speaking. Okay, so this society is built on slandering the Most High. Even Christianity, that's a slander. The images of Christianity, this modern Christianity, man. Okay, the images of blasphemy. The Edomite, portrayal of the Most High. The Edomite portrayal of the Messiah and the prophets. Okay, the devil calls it. They're saying they're the chosen people. These devils in the land. Okay, so this whole society is built on blasphemy. Okay, towards Yahweh Shemal Shai, and this is a token that this is that beast system that was prophesied. All right, to come to power in the end, okay? Because Esau, this is the system he will rule out of before he will be judged, okay? So, going back, verse 2, it says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power, his seat, and great authority, man. Okay, so you go into the leopard, which are the Greeks, okay, which represents the beginning, all right, of Esau becoming a superpower in the earth. That was his first government, all right, under the Greeks, all right. There was a superpower over other kingdoms, man. Okay, they ruled over other kingdoms in the earth as an empire. Okay, but his feet, which is the end of this man, is the bear. This war with Russia, which we see that, okay, on the horizon, man. Okay, we see that they're on the path, all right, to lock up with Russia. Okay, it was Russia's heavy ally to Iran. Okay. And, you have those Navy, all right, strike groups, all right, those American Navy strike groups, on the way to Iran, position themselves in Iran. Okay, then Iran told America, look, our finger on the trigger, however you go. Okay, which we know that's going to happen in this time, but we see things are in place. Okay, that's going to lead this man to this war with Russia, which is going to be his end. Okay, it says in his mouth is the mouth of a lion. Okay, which goes into London. Okay, which represents the banking, the financial aspect of this beast system. Okay, because it's financed by these elite bankers. They finance this Greco-Roman Empire that has been revived in the earth. It's financed by, all right, London. The bankers, these elite bankers, man. Okay, and it's beautiful that the more the devil talks about establishing a new world order, the closer he gets to this war. All right, and in this war, Yahweh Shah appears, man, and he's done. Okay, so it's great that this devil is speaking as he's speaking and moving as he's moving, man. This is exactly what we need as believers, man. Okay, and it says, and the dragon gave him his power and seat and great authority, because this devil has the same authority that the pagan Roman Empire had. The same authority that the Greco-Roman Empire had. The ability to interfere, okay, with different governments. Okay, Rome was known for installing, puppet governments. Okay, Rome-friendly governments. You see, and we see America, NATO, EU, they do the same thing. Okay, they link together and they do the same thing, man. They remove, okay, governments and they topple governments and replace them. And that's one of the things that ancient Rome had. Okay, the ability to interfere, okay, with foreign, all right, politics, man, foreign governments. Okay, also, there was a time when the Roman currency was a reserve currency of the world. Okay, just like you had the American dollar. Okay, that Roman currency was, accepted everywhere. Okay, because it was backed by, actual precious metals. Okay, so we see, the authority, all right, of that pagan, all right, Edomite ancient Roman Empire. Okay, that authority has been granted to this new, okay, Roman Empire, America, NATO, and the EU. Okay, it says, and I saw one. It says, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast, and they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. So it was wounded during what they call the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages, and it came back during the Renaissance, the rebirth. We went into that the other day. Okay, so what we're living in now is that deadly wound that was healed. Okay, what we're seeing, the whole world, all right, this age is wandering after the beast. Okay, this is where the beast has led the planet Earth into complete rebellion. All right, to where all these nations are on board with this new world order system. Okay, of AI replacing the Most High. See, this is what these nations are guilty of and partaking with Esau. Okay, in this system that this devil, okay, wants to establish. This, he wants to try to replace the Most High. You see, this is the fornication, the idolatry. Okay, that these nations are guilty with, man. Okay, with the whole, with America, man, with this beast system. And this is why Yahweh Shah is coming back to judge all these heathens, man. Okay, because they're co-conspirators, okay, to this plot, man, to this wickedness, man. They're wandering after the beast. They're following after the beast, man. And it says, and they worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And you see that now, especially, we've seen, it magnified, like this latest look, gimmick with Venezuela. Trump beating his chest, Americans beating their chest, like, yeah, this is what we do. Okay? We can't be stopped, taking, Russia oil tankers and, all these little gimmicks and, empty, showings of power. You see, and you see the sentiment, especially over here in America, like, who can make war with the beast? We good, But they're sadly mistaken, because the Lord is raising up these nations to take this beast to war. And ultimately, Yahweh Shah is going to come, all right, and completely eradicate this beast system, man. And all the other militaries of the earth. Verse 5, it says, and there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And this is what we're getting ready to see in this video. All right, the devil, Noah, Evolve, Harari, this nigga finna speak great blasphemies, man. Okay, but this is what the devil's been doing. He's just getting more open with it now. Okay, it says, and power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months, which is 42 months, represents what, 3.5 years, all right? But prophetically, that's 350 years, okay? Because from the time frame of 1619, you know, when these devils started to bring, okay, the southern tribes over here to be in captivity, okay, with the northern tribes, you know, that's when their time starts, okay? So 1619 all the way into 1969, all right, 1970, when Elder Abba Bivens will come on the scene, because that's when the Lord started chipping away at this devil's authority spiritually, man. Okay, before then there was no resistance to this devil. Okay, but when the Lord, caused the Spirit to come in, Elder Abba Bivens, which was John the Baptist coming back, okay, that began the narrative, that began the awakening of the prophets. Okay, they will begin to speak this man downfall into existence, and this is what we have today, man. Okay, what's that? Let's see, 30. You know, so about 56, 57 years later, this is where we at. You have a whole ministry of prophets that chanting this place down. Okay, and the devil is scrambling, he's declining from his power. Okay, but for that 350 years, man, he just had a free run. Okay, to build up this power structure, man, to establish the Greco-Roman Empire in the earth, man. You know, and now he wants to try to make it digital, but this is where he stopped. Okay, it says that he opened his mouth in blasphemy against the Most High, and blaspheming his name. Okay, we know part of the name is authority. Okay, now he pushes that false name Jesus. Okay, or their generic, name God. Okay, which they have proper names. The Heavenly Father name is Yahweh, and the Son name is Yahweh Shah. Okay, it says in his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. Okay, so this devil, he painted himself as the Most High, as we went into earlier. He pushed these, these false names concerning the God of the Bible and his Son. Okay, he pushes a false image of the angels. Okay, and not only a false image, but the temperance of an angel. He puts the angels if there's something to play with. But they're just these, harmless, soft, to the touch entities, man. Okay, man, these angels are a mighty power. Okay, dark-skinned men. Okay, that get off on doing the will of Yahweh Bashem Shah. Okay, Revelation 13:7 says, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints. Okay, so this devil, it was given to him to overcome us, and to overcome them. All right, so this was us, being, conquered by this devil when he came back into his power. Okay, because the first thing he did was, because Granada, fell in 1492. Okay, that same year when Granada fell to these Edomites, which those, a stronghold that Jake had, the Moorish Empire. Okay, it fell, to these Edomites, these Spaniards. Okay, Queen Isabella, King Ferdinand. Okay, and they gave authority to what they call these conquistadors to come over here, and they started to take down, the Incas. Okay, the Aztecs. Okay, so forth and so on. They began to take down, those northern kingdom empires that was over here in Central, all right, in South America, and even the Isles, Cuba. Okay, the modern day Dominican Republic, they call Espanol. Okay, and Haiti. You see, they began to take, those places down. Okay, and then they went into, the interiors, in Western Africa, taking what, all right, the southern tribes down. Okay, and once he took down the tribes, he went on to conquer the rest of the earth. Okay, it says, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And this is what we hear now, where this devil has authority over all kindreds, tongues, and nations, man. Everybody is under the shadow of this beast system government, man. Some more than others. And you have nations, that's bucking up. Okay, but this man government overshadows the whole earth. And it says, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose name are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. So if you're not of that predestined remnant of Israel, okay, you're going to be given over to worship, okay, this man's system and take that mark. Okay, you're going to worship his technology. This is going to be the best thing going. You're not going to, you're not going to be able to see past, okay, this system that this man has set up. Okay, if you're not part of that remnant that was predestined to get the victory over this beast, okay, well, guess what? You're going to be subjugated to worship, all right, this beast system, okay, which is going to prepare you to do what? Take that mark, okay, which is going to put you in complete rebellion, okay. So this is what we at now, okay. This is what we at real time. This devil has all this authority in the earth through this beast system. And now he wants to double down on that authority with that technology, man. He wants to join you and merge you with his technology, which is the biggest rebellion the earth has ever seen. Okay? So let's keep reading, because how does it end for this nigga, man? You know, because you go through all that history, you know, there's a lot more to go into, but just, you know, briefly going through that. When you go through that whole rundown of this beast system and how it would rise to power, okay, how is it going to end? Verse 9, if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth to captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and faith of the saints. Okay? So it ends up with the devil going into captivity, man, and also being judged through slaughter. A lot of these Edomites, when they go through their slaughter, man, their sword, okay, ultimately going to be those nukes, man. Okay? It's going to play a major part in the judgment and the slaughter of a lot, all right, you Edomites, man, and you heathens as well. Okay, and this is the patience and faith of the saints, man, that was overcome by this beast system, man. Okay? But our patience and our faith is that our power is finna judge righteously in the earth, man, and this nigga's finna lose. Okay? So, let's go here. I got this video. Let's go here. And just listen to these devils, you know, speak proudly. Okay? And he just a mouthpiece. This nigga know you all right. This nigga just a mouthpiece. Okay? For these elites, man. Alright? So let's play this.
No. As far, do you know? As far as putting words in order is concerned, AI already thinks better than many of us. Therefore, anything made of words will be taken over by AI. If laws are made of words, then AI will take over the legal system. If books are just combinations of words, then AI will take over books. If religion is built from words, then AI will take over religion. This is particularly true of religions based on books, like Islam, Christianity, or Judaism. Judaism calls itself the religion of the book, and it grants ultimate authority not to humans, but to words in books. Humans have authority in Judaism not because of our experiences, but only because we learn words in books. Now, no human can read and remember all the words in all the Jewish books, but AI can easily do that. What happens to a religion of the book when the greatest expert on the holy book is an AI?
This is my very specific question for you, right? Is that you're
So you hear the devil, you know, and he's speaking, you know, mighty words. And you see, when he talk about, when he went into the religions, okay, that he put emphasis on our book. You know, he said Jewish, you know, he said Judea, you know, but he's speaking of our book. He's speaking of the Bible. He didn't speak on much on Islam. He spoke on the Bible, because that's what it's about. Okay? And this devil is hyping up this AI. Oh, AI already thinks better than most humans. No, it don't. Okay? Because it thinks because of humans. Which the humans are a creation of who? The Most High. Okay? So this nigga steady pushing, you know, and that's why the scriptures speak about these are lying wonders, man. Because AI is a lying wonder. Yes, it can do some things, you know, it can be useful. Okay? But can it replace the Most High? Shit, no, nowhere near it. Don't even begin. Okay? AI don't begin to replace the Most High in any capacity, man.
And like everything else, though, I'm not really impressed by AI. Sure, you know, like Apostle Dahar and others for me, you know, we can create some pretty good discussions and all that using it, but it's not the only way. Definitely when it comes to banking and other things, it fucking sucks. Okay? You know, I'm not an app-based person, and I don't like it. You know, if for one, what if the security is so fucking beefed up that you can't even fucking get into it, right? So you're not going to know what the bills are. I'm a simple man that likes to see that bill in the mail, so that way I fucking know to fucking pay it. You know, I don't check every email because you're loaded with fucking spam, fucking garbage. So you're not always going to catch that fucking email. Especially, you know, with everything else that's going on. There's so much fucking spam out there. You know? So no, I don't. And I don't like fucking Alexis or fucking Siri. I don't like using my fucking voice to ask it fucking questions. If I can't type, then I am not going to even fucking use it. I will not use voice automated systems. I don't fucking like it. I don't like it whatsoever. I'm not talking to a person. I'm talking to a machine. And therefore, I don't have any respect for it whatsoever. Shalom, first and foremost, like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadosh, double honors, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are teachers of truth and sincerity, and shout out to Yakims out there in the four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadosh, Brakatom. But I can totally understand why Esau needs it, because he's a fucking retard anyways. Esau can't think for himself. He needs something to think for him. Because he's so fucking stupid. He doesn't fucking want to do any fucking work whatsoever. He's the laziest piece of shit that you ever fucking met. He doesn't want to fucking do anything. He's fucking lazy. He's docile. Well, it's probably because of all the vaccines he's had and all the mRNA that's in the foods, right? He doesn't want to fucking do anything for you. He doesn't want to wait on you. He doesn't want to even make sure anything, man. He's fucking stupid. He's fucking stupid as fuck. So, yeah, it's no wonder why he relies on AI. And that's why he's being replaced by AI. He's that fucking stupid. Trump's doctrine offers a grim choice for the world. Obey or suffer. Venezuela and Iran are just the latest example of this twisted approach, which priorities U.S. interests above global security. So, like everything else, so, you know, Trump is like, give in to me. Prospect of U.S. military intervention in Iran seems to have been avoided for the first time, being thanks to vigorous diplomatic action from Gulf states and Turkey. More surprisingly, Israeli state itself. Given U.S. President Trump's declarations that there would be no mass executions of protesters in Iran and the killings had stopped, it appears that Iran will for the moment be spared from the Venezuela treatment or worse. The sudden change of heart might simply be a sort of psyop ploy to reassure Iran's regime, encouraging the nation to lower its guard before actual strike. Yeah, and like everything else, you know, they're just trying to get them to lower to their defenses because they are planning to come in with a stronger strike. But hey, holy shit, Davos, it's worse than we thought. As these think tanks, these Trump worshippers, you know, because Trump was humiliated at the World Economic Forum, if you hadn't heard. You know, he's kind of made a fool of, you know. And like everything else, you know, they have plans. You know, they have big plans.
All right. Well, guess what? AI is your new religion. It's your new country. It's your new legal system. AI is your daddy. If you have not realized this, well, then you should be listening to the major theme at the Davos World Economic Forum in Switzerland, happening this week, January in 2026. Listen to this speech. It's called An Honest Conversation on AI and Humanity. The speaker is Yuval Noah Harari. He's a research fellow at the Center for the Study for Existential Risk. And what he says here about AI, it is the new world order, and it's undeniable. We're going to listen to what he has to say. It's about 2 minutes long. And then we're going to talk about, do we want this? Watch.
Therefore, anything made of words...
Just reiterating what we already shared.
...will be taken over by AI. If laws are made of words, then AI will take over the legal system. If books are just
because Esau's a retard,
then AI will take over books.
Can't think for himself. He's got to have AI do it.
From words,
he's a fucking retard.
Will take over religion. This is particularly true of religions based on books, like Islam, Christianity, or Judaism. Judaism called itself the religion of the book, and it grants ultimate authority not to humans, but to words in books. Humans have authority in Judaism not because of our experiences, but only because we learn words in books. Now, no human can read and remember all the words in all the Jewish books, but AI can easily do that. What happens to a religion of the book when the greatest expert on the holy book is an AI? However, some people may say, can we really reduce human spirituality to just words in books? Does thinking mean only putting language tokens in order? If you observe yourself carefully when you're thinking, you will notice that something...
He thinks he's smart, but he's a retard. This four-eyed fucking geek, right? He thinks he's fucking smart. He's a fucking retard.
Stuff about, I don't think it's a good idea. Like, I think it's what they're doing, but I don't think it's a good idea. So, yeah, that's what I basically said.
Okay. And the point David made is that AI is faulty, extremely faulty. I think anyone who's used it understands that. And so what will it be based on? But for how long will it be faulty and how will it be faulty? We don't know, right? So when you go to the Davos World Economic Forum,
let me sum that up for you.
This week in Switzerland, and when you search for the AI-based sessions, now it's
Monday. Retarded. You can only come out with retarded because the people behind it are retarded. Chump is a retard. Made of retards. Esau is a fucking retard. You know? The only thing he knows how to do is steal, kill, and destroy. Oh, look at this. Look at this life here. We gotta kill it. We gotta kill it right away. Because we gotta eat. We gotta kill it. You know? Turkeys are not the celebratory bird because Esau's got to fucking kill it. Got to have Thanksgiving every year, right? So it can't be the sacred bird that it once was. No, he's got to fucking kill everything. What a fucking retard. And he wonders why, well, look at the life of plantations and everything, right? Oh, you're supposed to rest the ground every 7 years. No, Esau doesn't do it because he's a fucking retard. Idiocracy. Watch that movie. Esau's a fucking retard. He can't fucking think for himself. He's got to have AI to do it because he's so fucking stupid. Trump slams Davos elites over Green New scam as climate crisis narrative falls apart. President Trump used his time at the World Economic Forum in Davos to denounce the globalist disastrous Grand New scam. The climate hoax was created by the WEF losers, and President Trump called them out to their faces. So like everything else, so here's President Trump, calling them out, and they all laughed at him. Because like everything else, so, you just got, as if they're
because of
really
my landslide election victory, the United States avoided the catastrophic energy collapse which befell every European nation that pursued the Green New scam. Perhaps the greatest hoax in history.
Besides you,
scam, windmills all over
coronavirus
the place,
hoax.
Destroy your land. Every time that goes around, you lose $1,000. You're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money. Here in Europe, we've seen the fate that the radical left tried to impose on America.
They're all going to laugh at you. They're all going to laugh at you. No, they're all going to laugh at you. Gotta laugh at this fucking fool Esau, man. He's just so fucking stupid. I mean, stupid is as stupid does, right? Trump threatens 100% tariff against Canada and China, over China. Prime Minister Carney said Ottawa and Beijing agreed to ease some reciprocal levies last week. U.S. President Trump said he would impose 100% tariff on all Canadian goods if Ottawa through a trade agreement with China. So, like everything else, though, it's because he's butthurt because he wants to do a deal with China. If Canada makes a deal with China, I will be butthurt and will hit 100% tariff against all Canadian goods and products coming into the U.S. Trump, warned anally on a Truth Social platform. If Governor Carney thinks he's going to make Canada a drop-off port for China to send goods and products into the U.S., he is sorely mistaken. So really butthurt, his ass, is really hurting. Man shot dead by U.S. Border Patrol intended to harm agents. Homeland Security. A man was fatally shot by U.S. Border Patrol agents in Minneapolis. Oh, here it comes again. In Minneapolis. On Saturday, an armed and had apparently planned to inflict maximum harm on law enforcement personnel, the Department of Homeland Security alleged. An intense nurse at the Department of Veterans Affairs, a U.S. citizen, was killed in the altercation. Another false flag, basically. So, like everything else, though, make you believe it's real. So, this devil, just creating more false flags in the same place. Very inventive. You see, this retard just keeps on doing the same thing over and over again, and we're supposed to fall for it. Yeah, if you believe it, you're really retarded. Just like you gotta believe that they put a man on the moon, even though the man on the moon was totally staged. Oh yeah, it's real. It's real. I saw it on TV. It's so real. So like everything else though, what a fool believes is what he sees. Let ISIS do their job. Trump rages after armed suspect shot by Border Patrol dies. Like everything else though, they are just pretty much inciting all this, right? Just summing it all up. President Trump took to social media to express his anger and frustration at the events in Minneapolis, specifically that the suspect was armed. And where are the pigs? This is the gunman's loaded with. Where are the local pigs? They weren't. They allowed to protect ISIS. So just like everything else, let ISIS do their job as terrorists. Because they're good terrorists. So we're supposed to believe this is real. We're supposed to be outraged. The roof is on fire! We don't need no water, let the motherfucker burn! Burn, motherfucker! Burn! Minneapolis, it's on fire! We need to send more ISIS, more National Guard! God damn it! It's on fire! Hey man, you can't believe anything that's on the mainstream, right? Minneapolis shooting. Witnesses, victims, family reject U.S. administration's lies about the killing. That you feed us lies from the tablecloth. So here we go. Yep. Fire! It's on fire! We gotta send in the troops. Eyewitnesses to a recent fatal shooting by U.S. city of Minneapolis and the family of the victim challenged the federal account of the incident, saying the government is spreading lies about what happened. It's the job of ISIS. Gotta support ISIS. Because after all, they did such a good job in Syria. They're the same terrorists. So like everything else though, just doubling down, right?
Discuss this further with Ben Swan, investigative journalist and founder of Truth in Media website. Ben, I'm glad to have you join me now. Tensions appear to be escalating rapidly in Minneapolis. Are you surprised? Let me start with this.
Yep, ISIS.
No, not surprised at all. I mean, a couple of very important points here, as Caleb mentioned. First of all, we have to take a look at the fact that all of this has been amping up for the last few weeks. After the death of Renee Good, obviously there were a lot of protests that were starting to build as a result of that. Then a couple of days later, there was another man who was shot in the leg, and we saw another surge.
Dance into the fire.
Amount of rioting in Minneapolis.
You gotta laugh at this shit, man.
It continues at this point to see either troops brought in, National Guard brought in.
There it is.
There could even be a conflict between National Guard and states can and military troops that the president would send in. So this thing is amping up a lot. The one
it's on fire. Yeah, exactly. Everything's staged, but we don't fall for it, right? Yeah, we detest the things that Esau Edom does, but we're not calling for action. We're not called to action. We are just simply telling you who this devil is, and we've exposed this devil for who he is. We're telling you to repent while you still got time, because this devil's coming down having great wrath, knowing that he hath but a short time. See, his foreskin's been uncovered. U.S. envoy, Trump's son-in-law, set to arrive in the Israeli state to meet Satan Yahoo. So like everything else, though, meeting Satan Yahoo, to come in there. Because like everything else, though, you got that Gaza peace plan, right? U.S. Middle East envoy Witkoff set to arrive in Israeli state on Saturday evening, accompanied by Jared Kushner, son-in-law of U.S. President Trump. Channel 12 reported that Witkoff and Kushner will arrive in Tel Aviv in preparation for a meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu. Sources added that Israeli security and political cabinet will convene on Sunday to review developments related to the Gaza Strip. On Thursday, Netanyahu's office announced the cabinet would discuss early next week the issue of reopening Rafah border crossing between the Gaza Strip and Egypt. So, like everything else, Phase 2 is happening because Phase 1 went so well. It's done so well. Nobody else could do it. Congratulations. The man of peace. Yemen's Ansarallah warns of U.S.-Israeli soft war against West Asian nations. High-ranking official from Yemen's Ansarallah movement has cautioned against psychological operations of the U.S. and Israeli state in West Asia, stressing that any intent to shape public opinion before any act of aggression against regional nations. This is done through full-blown propaganda campaigns and media hypes to psychologically manipulate societies and push them towards accepting aggression and reacting harshly, hastily, and anxiously to do it. They would therefore serve the aggressor's sinister goals. So, like everything else, so he's referring to the recent riots that were in, Iran, and it all got toppled, And just like everything else, so just pretty much saying, hey, don't give in to these plots, Weapons flow to RSF via Libya continue despite pressure on Haftar. Eastern Libyan commander undecided after Egypt. Oh, you piece of shit! Fuck you! Undecided after Egypt and Saudi Arabia urged to stop facilitating United Arab Emirates weapons shipments to Sudan's RSF. Yes, I curse at the computer because every time you try to do something, this devil comes in, man. Earlier this week, MEE reported that the Eastern Libya commander is coming under growing pressure from Cairo to Riyadh, which have warned that continued assistance could trigger a serious shift in Egypt's relationship with him. So, like everything else, that Libya is very well mentioned in there. Libyan sources with direct knowledge of the matter told MEE on condition of enmity that Saddam is now under pressure from the United Arab Emirates to continue the facilitation of weapon shipments to Sudan via eastern Libya. So, like everything else, we know that Sudan is part of Ethiopia. While Haftar's authorities in eastern Libya have long supported by Egypt, he is also backed by the United Arab Emirates, which is RSF's main patron, has been funneling weapons, mercenaries, and funds paramilitaries via Libya, Chad, and Ethiopia. So you see, like everything else, though, Russia is eventually going to be a guard unto these places. But you can see, though, that so much is going on at the same time as we get closer and closer. Wow, these pop-ups has really slowed this down. Baghdad says it will prosecute Islamic State group militants being moved from Syria. Because supposedly the U.S. has moved so many ISIS members, right? A very small little drop in the hat while all the rest were set free. Well, they're going to prosecute the remnant of them, right? Baghdad says that they will prosecute and try ISIS militants who are being transferred to Iraq from prisons and detention camps in northeastern Syria because, they had to give you the illusion that SDF was this really great group. They're not, but they want to give you the illusion that America was always there to support their allies. If you believe that, you're a fucking retard. You're just as retarded as Esau. Baghdad will prosecute and try militants from Islamic State groups who are being transferred to Iraq from prisons and detention camps in neighboring Syria under U.S. brokered deal. So like everything else, though, Iraq is still another U.S. stooge. Now the clashes between the Syrian military and the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces sparked fears of ISIS activating sleeper cells. Well, they've been set free anyways. Last year, U.S. terrorists and their partners, SDF, continued. No, they didn't. ISIS has been set free. Because like everything else, though, Al-Qaeda is a gem And you can't just leave that gym, as Syrian Analysis said on RT.
Discuss this and more with Gevorg Almasyan, an expert in Middle Eastern politics and founder of Syriana Analysis. Gevorg, welcome to the program. About 7,000 ISIS jihadists were planned to be taken by U.S. forces to Iraq for trial. How correct is that decision from your perspective?
Actually, we have to go a little bit 10 years back in time and study the situation in Raqqa and other places when ISIS had the momentum and also established the so-called state there. When the US went against ISIS with the help of SDF and also other forces on the ground, they have captured multiple of these ISIS militants, including senior officers and commanders in ISIS itself, and they kept them in these prisons for over 10 years now in Syria. And there were a lot of negotiations in the past and calls for solving this situation in Syria, especially that these fighters are very battle-hardened, ideologically driven, and they could pose a threat again if there is escape from these prisons in Syria. But there was not a single government in the West who accepted to solve this situation, as if they have put these militants in Syria on hibernation mode in order to recycle them later in a different file. Now, do I trust the United States with the ISIS militants? No. And the answer is very simple, because in the past, we have a precedent of a NATO country, Turkey, opening its borders with the green light of the United States for the influx of these militants to Syria, and with thousands of them from all around the world, including governments in Europe who allegedly turned a blind eye to the influx or the travel and the flight of these militants to Syria. They have used these militants in the past as a proxy on the ground, and I can prove that with a statement by John Kerry. John Kerry in 2015, when the Russian Air Force intervened in Syria in order to bombard and destroy the backbone of ISIS in Syria, John Kerry met with former Syrian opposition figures in Washington, D.C., and somebody recorded the meeting secretly and then leaked to the press. John Kerry literally said that they were happy seeing the expansion of ISIS in Syria because they thought that this would exert immense pressure on the former government of Assad and force him to compromise. But instead of compromising, he says, Russia got on the side of Assad against ISIS. Therefore, if we put this into proper context and understand that these jihadi Takfiri groups have been instrumentalized by the US foreign policy makers in Afghanistan, in Syria, in Libya, and also in Chechnya, and sometimes also in Central Asia against the Silk Road Initiative in Xinjiang, I believe that their transfer to Iraq is aimed at for a different goal.
Maybe to go into Iran.
In this context of escalation against Iran, this could be used to revive a certain jihadi pocket inside Iraq itself in order to restart a sectarian conflict inside the country and drive in the popular mobilization units, the PMU, supported by Iran, into an internal conflict in Iraq in order to attempt to try to weaken the Iranian influence inside Iraq and later probably shift this energy again against Iran, because the talks are very serious nowadays about the US sending a lot of reinforcement to the Middle East. Therefore, I see this in the context of trying to destroy whatever is left of Iranian influence in Iraq at the current moment.
And frankly, it all does sound a bit shaky. But during the land grab by Damascus troops, prisoners escaped from jail. Media reports say SDF militants even asked a nearby U.S. base for help, but didn't receive any. What do you think happened exactly there?
Actually, there was a lot of confusion. We received conflicting reports from the ground. I think what matters the most is that we have ISIS militants on run nowadays, including European citizens in this case, who came to Syria and fought alongside ISIS. And these militants could find a safe haven, again, either inside Syria or they could flee to Turkey and from Turkey again to their home countries. In this case, I think the Americans have abandoned the SDF completely, especially in the territories which was rich with oil and wheat and hydrocarbons, because the usage of SDF has expired. In the past 10 years, when the United States helped the creation of SDF and also funded it through the Pentagon, the goal was to block the former Damascus government access to the oil fields in order to keep the country poor, impoverished, in order for this sanction regime to work against the former Assad government. Now that the regime change has happened and the goal of the strategic goal of the United States has been materialized or achieved in Syria, I think they found that the SDF no longer serves their interests in Syria, and therefore they have abandoned them. I think there is an old saying in the Middle East, and this is attributed to Hosni Mubarak, the former president of Egypt, when he said, those whose only cover is America, they are naked. And I think the Kurds have miscalculated by putting all their eggs in the basket of the United States. And now they not only lost politically, but now we have also to face a new challenge, and that is the spawn and the recreation and re-emergence of the ISIS terrorism in the region, especially that the children of ISIS, and this is very, very important, they are children, but they have been living in Al-Hol camp for a long time and in other different camps, and they have been indoctrinated, radicalized, and sectarianized by their mothers in this camp, and there are new reports, journalists asking these kids, what do you think about the Islamic State? They all agree that when they leave this camp, they will join ISIS and they will carry on the fighting. So in my opinion, we are faced with a new phase of instability in the region, unfortunately, due to the failures of the US foreign policy, which thought it's a brilliant idea to bring a former ISIS and former Al-Qaeda emir basically as the president of Syria.
And
like everything else, so was it on accident or was it on purpose? Well, if you know anything about Esau, you know that it was all done purposeful, right? Because instability is how they take over regions, right? You know, so like everything else, though, you know, he's being sought out, you know. And, you know, we're getting closer and closer to the very end, you know, where, you know, he will speak great things, right? You know, as it tells you in Revelation chapter 13, you'll speak great things against the Most High. We'll go back there because that's how this lesson started out, you know. And, you know, well, dragon means draconian, right? You know, as we know. Revelation chapter 13, verse 11, I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, having 2 horns like a lamb, and spoke as a dragon, having draconian laws, you know, draconian measures, you know. You know, and we know that of this 2-party system, thus talking about Babylon, right? And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, causes the earth, and them that dwell therein, to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed, you know, which is the Greco-Roman Empire. And he doth great wonders, so they make a fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. You know, thus nuclear destruction, you know, to anyone that opposes them, you know, the Air Force, etc., you know, having this great power. And he deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. You know, that is their new world order, their new global governance. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, which is that new world order, that new creation. The AI, if you will, of things. That the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many that would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. So anybody that doesn't go along with it should be cut off, should be killed. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or in their foreheads, which is the implantable micro C-hip. That no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. You know, and that's its name, meaning the New World Order, that implant. The implantable device. Here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding, which is going to be an elect, count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. And that's those that have been given the understanding, that have the 100% truth. We know who that elect is. And his number is 666. You know, so like everything else, though, you know, the elect are going to know who this is, and we're not going to be deceived. Like so many others are going to be deceived, and they're going to receive it. But we will not receive that, you know. So hopefully all this has been edifying. For that I want to say, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rekakadash, Wa Abba Babal. Brakathum, Jehovah elect, Shalom.